I probably think about this topic too much, but hey, people have all sorts of things they overthink. Mine just happens to be this. What does it mean to be friends? What makes people your friends, and you theirs? The word friend is one inherent and essential to human civilization since the dawn of time, and yet I still have trouble with it. I started pondering those questions again after a business trip to New York a few months ago. The main highlight of the trip was meeting up with two people I'd never met in person. We weren't total strangers or anything. We'd interacted a lot online, and I'd always enjoyed talking to them. So when my workplace informed me I was taking a business trip to New York, the first thing I did was to let them know I would be in town. And after a few back and forths of our respective schedules and laying out the itinerary, the stage was set. They graciously gave me their time over 2 nights, guiding me on the overwhelming but very interesting New York subway, taking me around the city to see some sights, and leading me to some delicious food spots. Time really flew by when I was with them. One could say that I blinked and it was my last day in New York. They really made my trip. I think it's my favorite work trip to date, even if the work part of it was extremely stressful. Since the move for my job a little over a year ago, there haven't been that many highlights. Sure, there have been good moments, but not ones I would place in my box of favorite memories. Moments that made me forget about the challenges of my life and just enjoy being in the moment. So it's strange that the time I spent with them is probably one of my favorite memories over the past year. During the ride back to my hotel, I had some time to reflect. To sense that the time I spent with them was incredibly meaningful. To me, and hopefully to them too. After all, who knows where life might take us, or what might happen tomorrow, even tonight. Who knows if I'll see them again? I don't. You see, I've lived most of my life thinking about these ideals of friends and friendship. Who are my friends? What makes them my friends? What makes them want to stay my friend? What makes me want to be friends with someone? And further down the rabbit hole. It's quite difficult to measure friendships to begin with. Is it the quality? The quantity? Heck, I remember when having a certain amount of Facebook friends afforded someone a certain level of clout. Becoming friends and the concept of friendship come in a lot of different ways. Early on, through something like school, your neighborhood, your hometown, or later on, perhaps something like an extracurricular at work. Maybe it comes from online. It's not like friendship is a foreign concept to most. We have so many fictional and non-fictional examples of all kinds of friendship. But I think if you were to ask people the question I asked myself at the very beginning, you'd get a very different answer. Though there might be similar themes throughout. If I asked you for your answer, it'd be an answer that was unique to you. When I was a child, I didn't think much about the concept of friendship. I thought, I spend all my time with all these people. That makes them all my friends, right? I've shared all these things with these different people, and they're my friends, right? Life was much simpler back then. It wasn't until my senior year of high school when my perception changed. One Saturday, I was sitting at home, playing Madden 13, when my father came in and asked me a question about my closest friends at the time. The question was this: what are they studying in college? And I had no answer for him. It was then that my father asked if they were my real friends, or just my game friends. And though my father probably doesn't remember asking that question all these years later, it's stuck with me ever since. A few minutes after my father asked the question, I wrote in my journal a definition of what being a friend meant to me, and a list of all the people I'd consider my friends. I still have that journal entry from years ago. I haven't written a list like that again since, but the core feeling of it remains with me to this day. My parents, though more understanding after seeing the way I've handled my friendships, are still bemused whenever I use a different word other than friend in reference. There was a time where they really couldn't understand why I wouldn't just call people my friends. For some, it's a fairly straightforward answer. My current roommate seems to define it as people you don't mind hanging out with and can talk to. My coworker told me that a friend is someone of whom you have no reservations regarding hanging out, that you know it's going to be fun. You can banter with them and ask a favor of them. But I think it goes a little further than that, at least by my purview. It has to. Because if it were so simple, why is it so hard for me to pin down? There's this one particular quote in Katawa Shoujo. After being asked about naming her works, Rin seems unusually annoyed at the prospect. It's not like that. It's like if I paint a cloud and call it an octopus. People will think about it differently than if I paint a cloud and call it the end of the world. Every name is wrong. Nothing ever explains what I feel like when I make a painting. It's not a word thing. The only thing would be to come up with new words for everything. But would it help at all? Though my thoughts aren't about art, I think her point is applicable to semantics. For much of my life, I've shied away from using the word friend for most people. To avoid having to explain to others, I'll call people my friends when in reality they're my acquaintances. Friend is not a word that I attach to many people. It's a word of immense significance for me. Friendship is a choice, one in which neither party is in the relationship to get something out of it for themselves. There's no sense of transaction or exchange. There's nothing in it for two people other than the relationship itself. Ancient and modern philosophers alike have spoken about friendship. Aristotle describes a true friend as a single soul dwelling in two bodies. Marcus Tullius Cicero, a second self. C.S. Lewis said friendship has no survival value, rather one of those things that give value to survival. Henry David Thoreau. The language of friendship is not words, but meanings. In preparation for this video, I asked people, what does it mean to you to call someone a friend? Some had shorter answers, some had longer ones explaining their thoughts. But I got this real sense that maybe I wasn't the only one who'd been ruminating on that question. After all this time, maybe I can finally verbalize why the concept of friendship and the word friend are so important to me. In my attempt to define what a friend is, I find myself resolving to use their words, for mine are inadequate. A friend is someone I want to spend time with. A relationship with immense depth that they think of me as I think of them from time to time, even though we may or may not be in the same proximity. A friend is an extension of myself. When I call someone my friend, I am telling others and myself that this person is one of the best representations of myself, of whom I choose to surround myself with, and what I value. There is a bond beyond words. A friend is someone who is loyal and trustworthy, who sharpens me and I them, holds me in joy and sorrow alike, and can see the beauty of who I am, even and especially when I cannot. Because friendship is purely voluntary, unbound by things like law and blood, a friend is someone who will voluntarily go the extra mile, to care, to encourage, even sacrifice. It is a gift with nothing guaranteed, nothing is owed, only offered. Friendship is, and will never be, something expendable. Despite my best efforts to define what friendship and a friend mean, I don't think I'll ever be able to explain all the feelings I have about what it means to call someone my friend and have that reciprocated. And I know I just spent about 9 minutes trying to explain that, but it's like, the moment I try to put those feelings into words, I feel like it loses something. Like it doesn't feel as real. As true as it did and does in my thoughts. Thoreau was right. The language of friendship is not words. but meanings. And those meanings, I always want to hold on to them.